Hello, ladies and gentlemen in viewers land. This is the Kaki's Dialogue. Another edition is on your screen right now, and we are happy to be here with you today. This is a very important day in the life of our country. It is a day that the president, as a matter of constitutional obligation, was able to bring to us the health bill of the nation. I have with me here Comrade Orlando Jones to give you broadly some of the snippet of what the president was able to pick up in terms of the progress and the the prospects of the country and what his proposal for this year is, what we refer to as his legislative agenda. So, Orlando Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Senior Moderator Professor Willie Garrett, for uh, sharing this platform with you. Thank you for bringing me in. Um, right there, you said that we were discussing the president address to the nation today. Just to give a brief, not and legal constitutional background of what and did today. Uh, the president of the Republic of Liberia, Honorable Joseph Yima Bwaka, addressed the state of the nation address today. I would call this the Sonia. But this state address you can consider an annual message. Yeah, yeah, a review of the state after the state board. And the president usually present their message the last Monday in January every year. It's the last Monday in January every year. The president present the message, and he presented to the national legislature. And today is January 26th, so he presented the message, the annual message, to the 55th National Legislature of Liberia. Key of the address is the year in review, how the country will be run over the period of 1 year. And he talked about economic performance. One of the key that he talked about economic performance, that our growth of an economy grew, our GDP grew by 5.1%. Last year was 4%, but it grew up to 5.1%. He also talked about golden rule of law. He talked about rule of law, for Liberian people, how he been protecting the people, how they could be performing, and some of the legal steps we take to litigate our differences, court issue, corruption issue, rule of law. That's we put all in one big basket. We call it rule of law. What new laws he do to protect people? Yeah, he talked about that. He also talked about his legislature agenda, where he prospered our government had, what kind of new law that he going to put in place to make his government to be more proficient. He talked about and passing law about and people that commit crime in the past, and should not go impunity. He talking about the war crime code, how he had put in place some of the official, and they have drafted the law for the war crime code, and he think that agenda will be
Jones. We're
yeah.
going to go to all of those details. We
Yeah,
have
but I just highlighting the son. He talked about infrastructure.
We'll move to those highlights gradually.
But all in all, it's a year in review of the president agenda, what he did last year, what he's ought to see his country moving the next year. So I will rest that, pass it off to you, senior moderator.
Commissioner Smith, can you give your input? We are just looking at broadly what the annual message is all about, and what it is, and then we are going to move on, little by little, on what the president presented at this year's annual message. But just give us what you know about the annual message and stuff like that. Yeah, 2 minutes. You got on mute. On mute.
What am I, guys?
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Thank you very much. The state of the nation, I always told people public relations cannot substitute public policy. Public relations can buttress public policy. So to be able to do some propaganda, there must be a foundation of truth, a foundation of evidence that you can touch, that you can feel. But when your foundation in terms of empirical data are abstract, then you tend to survive on public relations. And public relations can only survive the moment you are making those speeches. Immediately after the speeches are made, we are back to square one, back to the reality. And so the State of the Nation talk about a 5.1% growth. That is non-existent in our Liberian economy. That number doesn't exist. The IMF recent report in October 2025, GDP growth was placed at 4.6%. The CBL, the Central Bank of Liberia, third quarter GDP growth is at 4.6%. That's the norm. That's the real growth percent, which also show a downward trend, because it was 5.1 growth was projected over the year. That was not realized and actualized. Now we hear the number that was not actualized. The 5.1 projection that was never reached is now being presented to the Liberian people as the progress that has been made with respect to our GDP growth. And that is disingenuous. That number 5.1 data got no source, absolutely no source. All the sources point to 4.1, 4.6. We fall short of the 5.1 estimated GDP growth. All right? So what does that show? That though there are infinitesimal attempts to stabilize the economy, the ordinary people still feel the pressure. Growth is not strong enough to lift income or reduce the cost of the living. The living conditions remain very hard. You say the
Okay,
guy.
Commissioner Smith, we are going to go into all of these details. We were just looking for a short piece that will at least introduce the show and what your point. But I mean, you gave a little hot intro that tends to spark up a little concern about the president's speech. We were actually not looking at it that way, at least for now. But basically, what I want to point out is the president speech today was resting on Article 58 of the Constitution. And then in Article 58 of the Constitution, it requires the president, amongst other things, to provide an economic condition of the republic, a report on the economic condition of the republic. And it specifically say the report shall cover expenditure as well as income. So if you look at previous reports during the foundation of our country, it was basically, a kind of skeleton report and focuses on income and expenditure. But Liberia has come so far, and the president has to report on a number of things. And that is the beauty of our democracy and our governance growth. So today we are going to look at some of the things that the president highlighted in his message. We might not be detailed today in terms of our analysis, Comrade Smith and Comrade Orlando Jones, because there are too many things that were covered. We just want to give the public, some of those things that were covered, and then tomorrow we can come to unpack them a bit by bit, so we can give our little reflection on each of those areas. So I would just want to look at the achievement first that were highlighted by the president. Firstly,
Yeah,
there is a need for. Okay, just before you come, please. Just before you come, please. Okay, I was being flagged, and there's an important intro. That was something part of my intro that I level that I need to state.
No need, Wemo, no need. No, you can come back to it.
Yeah, okay. As you say, we should give a reflection on the achievement. So I want you to listen to one of the biggest achievements over the year that our Liberian international relations and the government have.
So let's pause you on that and see what we pick.
I find the tip that what I'm telling you. I want to tip for you.
Yeah, we can come back.
Let me pick it back on the tip right here and play for you.
Challenge Corporation contract. I am pleased to report that after a review and reassessment by the new U.S. government, Liberia's eligibility for a second NTC contract was reaffirmed in December 2025.
Yeah, so OJ, let's pause you on that, and then we will come.
I think I was looking for the one.
Let's go step by step. We will have time to be able to go into each of these things in detail, right? Yeah. So on the president report on the achievement, he said the GDP growth rise from 5.1% in 2024 and inflation reduced from 10.1% to 7.7%. So there was a rise in GDP to 5.1%, and there was a reduction in GDP. Inflation to 7.1%. So he also talked about foreign reserve increase to 458.9 million. 458.9 million. So we probably have to check what was it the last year. And the Liberian dollar depreciated by the Liberian dollar appreciated by 4.7%. So the Liberian dollars, according to him, gains strength. Domestic revenue collection, he says, was US 695.3 million. 695.3 million. And he recorded it as the highest in history. And in 2025, the national budget was 880.7 million. And then he also mentioned that the county development funds remittance, there was county development funds remittance to counties, and then the road fund revenue fully remitted for the first time in the year. And he also talked about strong technocratic reporting, heavy reliance on IMF, World Bank, EU framework. Growth is level, household level impact remains largely asserted, not demonstrated. So yeah, this is these are some of the achievements that the president reported. These are some of the achievements that the president reported. We can look at them, OJ.
Yes, because that's evident because the president just collecting the data from off air. It's not an off record thing. The central bank collected data and with the finance ministry and the Department of Revenue, what we call in Liberia, LRA, and they provide the information to the president. Last year, I was just making the research quick. Last year, the estimated growth of GDP was 4.1%, and they exceeded it. They were 4%. Said what I was reading in the news. Even I looking at front page Africa, they exceeded from last year. Sonia, it was 4.1%, but the growth went up to 5.1. So they exceeded their own. They want to beat their own record. Then he also talked about other different fronts of he talked about stabilizing the U.S. rate. And I was just reading from Asia and look at the rate. The Liberian data depreciated at a certain point when they took over, and now they have stabilized the rate. And they say they're 4% by December 2025, the lower level in more than 2 decades, down to 10% of the administration. So you might know the U.S. rate had depreciated with the Liberian data based on the information they got from the central bank. So you can see a lot of improvement in the country economy. They're moving the upward, not downward. At a certain time it was stable, but you can see the trend. The trend is moving upward. So a lot of progress is made from the government economic front in stabilizing the economy. But I know it's not sufficient because all of the things should translate into creating jobs. And that's the front that the president addressed the issue of job. And he was talking about the disadvantaged youth, some of the program they put into that they are over to create 15,000 jobs, creating training and some grant that the government got from other international partners. They are over to put some disadvantaged youth, 15,000 of them. The total number of jobs created was up to 700,000. The labor ministry provided the data. So this data are data that you can go and do your fact finding on. It's not something like people just throw figure up and you can't go and do. And they talk about training programs, especially the disadvantaged youth. Now one of the challenges in drugs and other things, they had the money that they put into the process. I read gained some some real dividends. So I think the government, the process of the economy growing, they're growing now at the pace that everybody wish for it to grow, but you can see and people is not slipping back. More people is not slipping back into poverty, but I think they are stopping people from going slipping back to poverty and moving people into the job market, but at a very slow pace gradually. But I can talk about other stuff, but right now I
Yeah,
don't want to with
yeah,
the number that you provided me. I don't want to expand on other
yes,
issues.
sure. So it's very good. Women, do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about those areas that I mentioned? GDP, or GDP, and the appreciation of the Liberian dollars, and domestic revenue, or increase in domestic revenue being the highest in history, and then the national budget uh, of 880.7 million, uh, and then the county development and social development funds being remitted to counties, and road fund revenue fully remitted for the first time in the year. Those were things that the president reported. So you can just have a brief comment on it, on those. Then we move to the next one.
Well, I understand, OJ Friend is the finance minister, and so you do
Get
it better
nothing.
to
Yeah.
you do it better to create a better picture of a very gloomy economy where our people are struggling, our people are hungry. And so that 5.1 GDP number is imaginary. It never happened. I said that in my opening. And when you go to fulfill a constitutional duty, you don't use the platform to provide information that do not have sources. So the performance with respect to the economy, the GDP, the government fell short. The estimated projected GDP growth was put at 5.1%. And I just read for you, just October 2025, IMF said, given all of the factors, all of the activities in the economy, it was clear that the government could not meet that 5.1. The government-owned agency, the Central Bank of Liberia, said that in a second quarterly report that they are around 4.6. So where is the 5.1 coming from? It never happened. We never reached there. And you talk about revenue. That is another story of fantasy. You say the first revenue generation of 1.7 billion. How good is that domestic revenue? When the national needs heavily depend on the donor. Okay? The expenditure pressures are rising, especially in wages, subsidies, and social programs. That sustainability concerns still persist. Debt servicing consumes a growing share of the budget. Do an analysis of the budget. What is in the budget for diversification of our economy in the service industry, in the manufacturing industry, to create public-private partnership, to strengthen the private sector so that more jobs will be created. So you cannot be talking about domestic revenue mobilization when the basic needs, the national needs are heavily dependent on donors. Okay? And so
Okay.
we have limited economic diversification. The regime continues to expose the volatility of the country. And we as economists, this is alarming. No serious economists will see what is going on, looking at all of the raw data, and will come up with these kind of false analysis, political analysis to to appease your base, so that they go on with the Hosanna chorus, the Hosanna chorus, how the government look. In 1990, there was a infamous, notorious slogan from the MPFL, how the CEO look. All right, how the CEO look. We cannot continue on that path. We're talking about a country here. So
Okay,
the budget.
let's hold you there, Commissioner Smith. Let's hold you there, Commissioner Smith. We're going, like I said, we are going to go in depth into all of these things. We might probably take the whole week looking at these things piece by piece. And so I want to move us to governance, transparency, and accountability.
Now, before you move on to governance and accountability, let me share some quick figures, because we got to do some quick reflection before people make some false claim. When we look at last year, budget, because my bigger concern, I can see progress in government providing services to the people. And how do you determine that? You determine that by budget. And I'm gonna rest on 30 seconds on this, because there's evidence, and the budget show evidence. Last year, 2025 budget, and the budget was $885.5 million, and the government was owed to raise domestic revenue. I don't talk about help from international partners. They were owed to raise $847.7 million with domestic money. When they added, they exceeded their forecast, or the $5.5 million.
Okay.
That shows that let me land with that analogy. Let me show you the land with that analogy. So the government came up with and they came up with a new budget 2026. This is the first time. It's a historical groundbreaking budget that went to $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
And the first claim, let me tell you how the economy works as an economy. The first claim on every budget is your debt. For last year, and I can give you the figure. He can go to finance ministry and find out the debt. Liberia debt is $2.8 billion. What the government did last year? The government was owed $120.1 million.
Orlando Jones.
So
Yes.
the fact that the money went to private entities that the government was owing. Maybe women had debt claim on the government, and he could get some of that money. But if the claim was false, he couldn't get it. So it means that money was pumped into private entity, that you can see some improvement in government, because the first claim.
Let me hold you there, Orlando Jones. Let me hold you there, Orlando Jones.
Yeah, go ahead. But I just wanted
we are going to move into detail of each of these segment of the president's presentation, but I want us to move to governance, transparency, and accountability.
Yeah, I wanted to put that logic up for women to get it.
Yeah, we'll still have time to come back to that. So the president reported that there was 14 executive orders that were issued, including the Office of the War and Economic Crimes Court, the National Railway Authority, the unprecedented audit of presidency, judiciary, and Senate. And then the GAC published 60 of 80 audit. And the removal of ghost name saving millions. They didn't put a particular figure to that. Asset declaration by the president and vice president.
Nothing about the civil reform.
Yeah. Consultants reduced from 1,000 to 94. Saving US 4.7 million. So here, yeah, these are the areas that the president touched on with respect to governance. It basically just say some of the things that are going on, like for example, GAC published a state of 80 audit reports. We always know that GAC will conduct audit and publish audit reports. And then removal of ghost names. They didn't state exactly the ghost name or the value, but he stated here specifically consultants was reduced in the bureaucracy. So, from 1,000 to 94, and it saved us 4.7 million. It means that we have about 1,000 consultants in the bureaucracy, and they reduced that 1,000 consultants to 94. And it saved us 4.7 million. So what say you on the governance, transparency, and accountability area? Those are the areas that the president reported.
So, it's quite interesting. OJ is trying his best to, like I said. So, you have a budget code line 222222123 called other compensation. You say you reducing consultancy. You have bloated the payroll over 26 million on other compensation. That's why they have moved all these political people and so-called consultants and paying them on goods and services. 26 million is there. Okay? I mean, it's unfortunate, OJ. The numbers are there, the facts are there. You cannot beat these things. Okay? And so you talk about debt sustainability. Who are those vendors, local vendors? Because if the government of Liberia owe me over 500,000 now, and maybe over 1 million, that would be around 1.4 million by the time they conclude the other stuff. Legitimate legal debt, OJ, cleared by GAC and the code. Your friend refused to pay me. It's not ugly debt, OJ. That's a real clean debt. So talk to your friend to respect the court ruling, and the GAC audit is there. When you check that audit is there, and then you pay. Imagine
the man going back to rewinding the
Wemo, you need to stick to the governance issue.
Let's mention that they paid there, and Wemo paid there was not a good debt. Why you heard that? So
your 2 minutes is soon going to expire. Go to the governance issue.
Firstly, I don't know when people say the tier state of the nation address. Governance and accountability start with doing the right thing. The last state of the nation address was an illegal state of the nation address where the president violated the Constitution by presenting the state of the nation to Richard Nangwe-Kun, who was not the speaker, against the Supreme Court ruling. That's a fundamental issue that people are leaving out. And OJ Frank and the Justice Minister, as if it was based on the Justice Minister advice. The Finance Minister violated the PFM law, Section 22, that gave the Minister of Finance the power to operate on a 112 budget in case of situation where the budget issue has not been resolved or addressed by the legislature. So the Minister of Finance already has the power as per the Public Financial Management Law. He put that law aside and submitted the country's national budget to an illegal body. And it is this budget now that we are talking about. We're talking about the budget performance.
So
from
can the Finance Minister be prosecuted for that, or is he going to enjoy presidential immunity?
Minister should be. In fact, you go back and call for the dismissal, suspension.
You joined the guy to square your question. Huh?
No. It honor governance and accountability.
You know that honor governance. We're addressing the
president. Go to the government. If you now go in that level. So, under the government issue, I called 7 months ago. It's all online, front page and other story carried that article I wrote, that the president must either suspend or dismiss both the finance minister and the justice minister for allowing him to go and present a State of the Nation address to an illegal body. Okay? And so what happened after the president submitted that? Then it came now to have the speaker had to resign after a couple of weeks or months. Then you had an election before having a new speaker. So you see what they put the country into in the face of a Supreme Court ruling. So the government scored 0 on the governance issue, and because the government scored 0 on the governance issue, it shows that the government is not interested in accountability.
All right, let me hear from you, Commander Orlando Jones. We have here 14 executive orders issued, including the creation of the Office of the War and Economic Crimes.
As my puppy saying Johnson can say the brain bottle issue, my water children.
Yeah.
My water children, but that's just to sidetrack. But here's the issue that the president read. He talked about a rest agenda and some of the things that he tried to restore public trust in. And accountability is one of the real issues. He talked about all of the reports from the auditing bureau and what's the integrity institution need and what's corruption, how they call it, Bureau of, PVCT and all this. Yeah, and he told a number of reports, and he talked about people who were prosecuted and people that he fired, and he talked about that. Although he never listed the name, but he called a number of people who were found guilty, and some people want to quote, and they were found non-guilty. He mentioned that people were found non-guilty, like our man, woman went to court, and women be found non-guilty. I don't know, or he's still waiting here trial. I don't know, but.
Which one you know?
You talk about man. Give me that. We talk about government, and the president also mentioned the completion of the war crime code. He said they have put the law into play. He's going to pass it all to the national legislature to take a decisive decision. And the only thing, my disappointment that we were talking about the last time, we were talking about the Civil Service Commission. And I already mentioned that one of the areas need to be revived because you also talk about number of right-sizing the civil service. They also talk about restoring dignity to pay. Right there, they have raised some health workers, doctors, and teacher pay and other volunteers in the area. And you also talk about other international partners that have been giving grants to government, and some of the grants were directed to certain government agencies. You talk about and the children have been selling in the street and other downtrodden Liberian that we call Zogo, that they were over to put some program into place. And then he also talk about he gives some supplies in connection with some country that donated to Liberia, and they'll be giving it to the Ministry of Agenda. They'll be giving those supplies to the Ministry of Agenda to be distributed to kids around the country. He also talked about other government agencies who don't give direct budgeting support to to government, how they've been involved into the process of helping in social society in carrying out some meaningful project at the ministry of that they put authority and the Rawa International Airport. We talk about how they have modernized the terminal system, the bridge have been, and the last time I was in Liberia, I was surprised I was able to walk from my plane and straight into the bridge there. That some of the, things, how they call physical and development agenda, because you are talking about the rest agenda.
Okay, let's move on to infrastructure and road.
That's why I was driving.
Yeah, the president captured infrastructure and road.
And roads.
And then the achievement that he reported on infrastructure and road included 783 kilometers of road recondition or maintain. And then he said key corridors were made motorable, including Foya, Medikoma, Zwedru, Kawikin, etc. Then the RRA road expanded from 8 kilometers to 20 kilometers. And the Sanikwele Logato road, 85% completed. And then the solar street lighting and drainage in Morovia. They did the Medina Robertsport paving announced as imminent. That means it's going to happen. It hasn't happened. And those were the area for infrastructure and road.
So, Willie, let me touch on two issues quickly. Firstly, that number again is factually inaccurate. Factually inaccurate, and that's why you see there's no source. Scattered data. That's not a road coverage. It's not possible, given the road project that suffer slow execution, poor maintenance, and contractor issues. All right? The government took over several contractors who had a road contract. They said because it was the CDC government that awarded them the contract, they took them to court. They took over a year and a half to even get that matter resolved from the court. Take, for example, the MDMC company. MDMC got a legal contract to do the road going all the way to St. Paul Bridge and going forward there, Freeport, all the way going. They had to go to court for over 1 year plus before the court ruled MDMC fail again because the contract was legitimate and legal. So all these issues, it's not possible to cover those amount of kilometers. That's an inaccurate number, only intended to create an impression. All right, you talk about energy reform, completely incomplete. All right, we got high tariff. The supply is unreliable. Financial losses in the sector. The rural areas are still experiencing limited access to both roads and electricity. So we gotta be intentional about our development. We can't be political about development. You talk about going to get Zogo one. What kind of program you have in place? All right, the program large scale. There's no sustainability plan, no measurable outcome. You just go divide on a Zogo OJ, and then after the divide on, then what happens next? What's the sustainability plan? All right, what's the measurable outcome? What do you expect? We gotta be serious. We gotta be intentional. This is not political. This is about our country. You want to transform people and bring them back into the society, rehabilitate people. There got to be program, and that program can be quick impact. It can be short term. There must be a clear roadmap for taking them from the street to taking them to the rehabilitation center, rehabilitating them, building skills, building capacity so that they have skills, so that when they come outside, they will be able to contribute to the economy. They will be able to work. They will be able to do something. You don't go to them, grab and get them free food for a few days. That's not how you run a program. Youth employment remains very high in the country. They're feeling frustrated and listening to the people all in the street who are interviewing them. No job. To the extent you say you put West Point down, but the point you get money to buy one cup of rice. All right? So These kind of misplaced priorities. I want to see a budget. What is the contribution of the SOEs? I didn't hear that from this. I didn't hear that in the State of the Nation again. What have the SOEs contributed to move our country in terms of diversifying our economy, in terms of making strategic intervention? LPRC. Look at the country, OJ. OJ, why is it that prior to the war we're doing refinery, that up to now we can't go back to the pre-war status? It's something you should think about. That LPRC are yet into another big gas station or storage place. When they Liberia Petroleum Refinery Company, why are we not refining? We are doing that before the war. Liberia Electricity Corporation. Why is it that we're providing, the dam was providing more power with a lower capacity, 83 kilowatt? Now we got 280 something. You get it less. All right, you are delivering more water than now. It's because the SOE are not doing a job. They are not doing a job. The State of the Nation could not tell us how much the state-owned enterprises contribute in terms of their quota to the national budget. They're making the country. When we FPRC go back to the pre-war status to say we are involved with refinery, you know how many jobs it will create, OJ? You know the technical people you need to come and sell all these planes and things. That's job creation. That's diversification. Okay? If we did the same for LSU, we talk about decentralization, water and sewer, the National Port Authority. The government is the biggest employer, yet the government has failed to even expand beyond its own limit. There are a lot of things we were achieving before the war. We can't achieve them now. All right. So what is in the so-called 1.6 billion and revenue rate and budget? When you look at the agricultural sector, okay, where are we going with that? In terms of mechanization, value chain development, everything is slow, OJ. All right, you got a budget of over 40 million for agriculture, 27. Your budget only 13 million you are contributing domestically. The rest, over 60 to 70% of that agricultural support comes from the donor. You talk about food security, you can't even manage your own food security as a country, and we stay here delivering rhetorics. We delivering rhetorics.
Comrade Smith, let's hold you there.
Yeah,
Orlando Jones.
Let me provide statistic, and I'm a normal guy, so every time when I speak, every time I speak, I like to speak with numbers.
Data bringing a provider so that will check and validate.
Yeah, you can validate because I used to the same government website, so everybody get access to
which
it.
Government 5.1% GDP growth. Government.
You gotta give me a chance. You don't interrupt the speaker. I give you almost 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
Let me speak, Mr. Smith. Let me speak. It is not a fancy talk here. We want to provide information. So I was looking at the Ministry of Public report on the executive mansion, published that report on 2025 road. They say road construction and rehabilitation of major roads. There are 17 major roads, and it will tell you the kilometer of that they reconstruct, or what we call, people can call that. They started with Banga and second place and road the Banga second place. They did 81 kilometer. They won the second place Vonjama 115 kilometer in Lofa. They won the Vonjama Manakoma 80 kilometer. They give you the Ganta Standing Quay. They got 17 different projects. Ganta, you go all the way. You are looking at it, just go to I will provide this information to Billy, that Billy look at it. Those are information that the people use, and some of the highlights were put into the State of the Union address. I'm just talking about road, and that's as for infrastructure we're talking about. Then when I talk about electricity, we talk about Buchanan and River City that were over to and provide electricity to 17 new first time people in Buchanan in some small town like Bijo town. people over to get electricity. I remember in Liberia, March, when I have the opportunity to visit Ghana with my friend, and we're launching that project. And then before and I left from there. I think it's not 1 year yet. I left from there in March. And no, I left from there in April. The end of April. It's not 1 year yet. So 1 year, and I was glad that we were over to launch that. People all the way to Cesar City who are having electricity. Then they talk about solar panel or small clinics, over 118 clinics around around the country that the government honored some new project given by grant, but through and what to provide solar panels for to those major clinics that should be able to have electricity. So the government have moving the goalpost, moving the needles, not moving the goalpost, moving the needles a little bit in terms of power. And you know what power does, eh? When you have power, it reduces the cost of people, doing any productive thing in the society. If you got power if you're running a shop or a little even drinking place, if you have power, you don't have to go back, ask from one distance, it will increase the price of the drink if you have to go use generator and all that stuff. But power have to reduce the cost a lot of price. Then the government also talk how I made major commodity are reduced. That because people that are running the businesses, he talk about the stable price of our stable food, right?
Okay, let me hold you there, Orlando Jones, because the next area is on agriculture and food security, and you have just delved into that. So the government reported achievement, include 4,000 hectares of rice cultivated, and 4,000 hectares of rice cultivated. That's basic with agriculture and food. You can just continue with that, because I saw you delving into that.
Yeah, I was diving into that because our comrades are the Ministry of Agriculture.
And then let me add on to it. There's 5 mechanization center under construction. The government says that they are constructing right now 5 mechanization centers, and 10,000 plus hectares of cocoa supported. So probably the agriculture ministry supported 10,000 hectares of cocoa farming. And then agriculture budget increased by 200%. The agriculture budget increased by 200%. And then the National Agriculture Fair revived. So they started the National Agriculture Fair again, and those are areas that the government mentioned as achievements in the agriculture sector.
Yeah. So
we can continue, OJ.
Yeah, we continue. Okay, because I like to follow details and that because Ministry of Agriculture on a Liberia, the most of the funding come from international partner. Yeah. So my late father, so Victor Archie, he worked with Ministry of Agriculture for more than 30 years. He was the chief and meat inspector of the Monrovia City and how they call car factory, where they used to call in Jamaica Road. They used to call him Dr. Jones. He headed that ministry, and I know how he got government scholarship to go to England to do meat inspection, and he was heading that department for years. And they got a lot of people being trained. But I was reading Front Page Africa, just to sidetrack, but to come back to the issue. Front Page Africa, and they give the African Development Bank was sponsoring an African country in food production, 900 million. Liberia benefited from that, and that sector. One of the things that the agriculture ministry that they are done in recent time They are going to rural farmers, or people that do fruits and vegetables. One of the things that made fruits and vegetables very expensive in the Liberia market because of storage. Now they are opening a solar panel storage in a lot of local villages. And if you follow the young guy who is called JMB Son, he goes to this small project then. But these are meaningful projects. These
Yeah,
small projects.
but I don't think the president reported that.
You know what reported that, but that this is a project, but it honor that month that he called honor Minister of Agriculture. The storage that they building in small villages and towns that people all to store the fruits and
You
vegetables.
mean
That
it's under the 5 mechanization centers?
yeah, and it's being being run by solar panel.
Okay, when we come to
Yeah,
investigating the
right.
details, we will we'll probably look at these things.
Yeah, but let me close with the rest and stabilization of price of rice and major commodity that talk about. He talked about the price of flour. You know that we eat a lot of food in Liberia. It's all about flour. That the last 2 years, the price of flour had dropped drastically. I remember that our food, our color donor down there, we couldn't find nothing for $5 again. But I went back home. I think things have been dropping. Like
Let's hear from Comrade Smith.
Yeah, but I mean, rice, the staple food, rice.
Yeah, let me hold you there. Let me hold you there.
I can end with rice because it's a political thing. It's a big political commodity. Rice. I still remember on Ellington, I got to give the historical background and right here. On Ellington, rice, that small 25-pound bag of rice, in Ellington, it was, when I went back home, I think it was out of 50 cents. But when Joe Joseph Baga regime, it took a lot of, he gave, and the president recognized the vice president that worked on that press stability, and Baga have been stable for the last, the last 2 years, and the press of gas.
I can tell you, Orlando Jones, I can tell you I left Liberia around 2021. I can tell you all the time I was in Liberia under the WE administration, rice, is it a 25-pound bag of rice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never crossed $14. Until I left Liberia, it never crossed $14.
But what low anytime it increased in job we are
no, anytime it was $15, and then we have brought it to $13. So but let's hear you, Commissioner Smith, on the agriculture and food security issue.
Aaron, this is pathetic. You have a national budget where you're talking about national food security. Very critical. And outside the government, agriculture accounts for the highest employment, that sector. Yet there is, basically non-existent rural rules, limited financing, low mechanization. And you say the government say I heard about 5 mechanization structure.
Yeah, 5 mechanization centers under construction.
Can you imagine? To tell you that we are joking. If you are making a report, you say 5 mechanization centers under construction, and I expect that to be completed. You get timeline, exact timeline, and the expected outcome, measurable outcome. When these structures are completed, this is what is going to happen. But people just doing politics. Okay, you got a national budget. Only 13 million is coming from the government of Liberia. 40 million really comes from the donor. All right? It's alarming. It tells you
Yeah.
that no serious country, a country who cannot feed itself, and who is not making any progress in terms of addressing that situation in the not too far distant future. All right? All the machines that came with Gaddafi, really the machine came. Okay, you might say all the money didn't come to a disruption, but the machine did not go back. They stay here. What happened? They spark on the sidewalk until they got rusted. Okay? So the value chain development, there's no value chain process. You said the poor produce how many hectares of rice? Where did that rice go, Billy? What the market that in demand for that rice? What the value chain? There's no value chain development. All right? The farmers are dependent on raw commodity sales. You know that community, you go pick a lady on the garden of farm, Billy. You see how the few person around it. What's the value chain? And this is the responsibility of the national government. We are lacking behind that. All
Okay,
right. So
let's quickly
we
move on
school.
energy and money. No, I mean the reason why we have to do this is because
That move to
we are going to
energy,
pick sector by sector and go detail into
that move to
what
energy
is
and money.
happening.
The president provides some number there.
Look, energy. It's a joke. It's a
Now,
joke.
let me say what the president highlighted. Comprehensive mineral survey completed by China funded. You remember the president talked about that survey completed years ago, and he came to ask Donald Trump to do the survey, the sea survey.
Back to the again. Amen.
So new mineral identified beyond iron ore. Electricity imports increased, tariff reduced in Bong and Nima. And then 20 megawatt solar plant under construction. LEC returned to statutory governance. Those are the things that the president said under energy. LEC returned to statutory governance. I don't know what it really means. But we are going to go into that. Electricity import increased and tariff reduced in Bong and Nimba. New mineral identified beyond iron ore and a comprehensive mineral survey completed. OJ, do you want to look at the president on energy and mining?
Okay, let me take energy. I think I briefly talk on energy of we talk about people access to power is one of the key things of the opening of the economy because it helps to reduce cost of any business, Yeah. So they are being able to reconnect rural community, not only using the hydro, they are also bringing in solar panel, and then they are also doing that solar farms. So a lot of local communities and town in the rural area. And for money, I know that the president touched on some social responsibility of the B Mountain and incorporated, and how they call that, and conceptual agreement that we have. They are done some renovation for some preschool. They were able to train 15,000 of our disadvantaged youth, and they were able to give temporary job. They train them in different aspects. The president also talked about that they have concluded the arrangement of the yellow machine, and they are en route in ship. They are en route shipping Liberia right now, and those yellow machines will be used and put in station in very rural community where to give more access to roads, and those people that have been by those concession and area and that the disadvantaged youth that in various areas will be able to give them some job opportunity, you know. So these are the things that the president talked about: the mining company, the social contract responsibility of the community. And he talked about the other mining company in Nima and what they have been doing and helping the communities and other training people in other aspects. These are things that also bring little jobs in the community. So we would tell the government, you know, we need more than that. Most of the people that come there to extract our resources, you need for them to get connected to the community, and the community people should be trained to do those jobs that they are capable of doing. And if other job that the community is not and members not order, they should be order to give them opportunity for advanced training and come right back to you know. So that will also help to, you know, increase the number of job opportunity training, you know,
So,
training program.
okay,
So
let's hear from you, Commissioner Smith, on the energy and mining.
Look, OJ, you say B Martin vocational training. That what they sign at MDA. B Martin they ambulance for the workers in their sector. So you abandon your responsibility as enshrined in the Mineral Development Agreement, and then you pass it around say you good Samaritan. And because of the lack of compliance, monitoring, evaluation regime from the central government, that's where we are. All right. B Martin needs to honor her fiduciary responsibility under the MDA before talking about giving bonus. That's number one. Number two, Billy, the last time there was a state of the nation, that was the first legal state of the nation before the second state of the legal state of the nation today. President Bouaga informed the country that the Chinese government has concluded the mineral survey. The report was ready. When he traveled to the US to speak good English, he called on the US government through President Trump to send their expert to help do our mineral survey. Today, at the second legal state of the nation address, President Bouaga falls back on the same channel, completing the mineral survey. So for the next 6 years, we're going to be in a SACUS, mineral survey SACUS. Nothing going to be done. I mean, you know, so for the next one will be here, the American will soon be coming now. Okay, what have you done with that report? Why is the report not public? What are the practical steps that have been taken? In the outline of the report, what are we doing? Nothing, Aaron. And so, like I said to you, there is a need for a serious reform in the energy sector. The tariffs are very high. Power supply very unreliable. They are huge financial losses in the sector. The things they're supposed to be doing, they're not doing it. Okay? And Midasi brought Washer here, 1.7 billion Washer to watch their own INO. The people go and celebrate as it will say it bringing some extra incentive to the struggling Liberian people. Okay? So Midasi go pay one old bridge that will be on a tomato. They say they put the cost at 900,000. So these kind of gimmick and shenanigans is taking the country nowhere. And you are in a digital age. We are in a digital age. You know what energy means in a digital age. And so that's why we are lagging behind in many regards. Because we have misplaced priorities. We have misplaced priorities.
We are definitely going to explore this sector and the president's message regarding this further. But let us quickly move to education. Here, the president reported as achievement that scholarship arrears were addressed in the tune of $1 million. He said, scholarship arrear practically was for those students outside of the country. So 156 public schools digitized with solar power. Digitized with solar power. And user back US 75 million foundational learning project. And school feeding program funded. The government funded school feeding programs. And One Child, One Chair initiative was launched. So those are the issues, the areas in the educational sector that the government touched on.
The school feeding for what?
The school feeding program was funded. It said school feeding programs was funded. So it means that there will be school feeding going on across government institutions, public institutions.
Yeah, I think that the budget captured some of the figure. The last budget, I think there was a debate. I think one time I thought of Spoon, and they were talking about some 90,000 or not 90 million, 90,000. Somebody was thinking that the current minister will redirect that money. No, and I think they said the last final minister was Samuel Twe. That was an agreement that money should be used for feeding program. When Gafan King, they were according to the directive from the last final ministry, and and that money was being directed to the feeding program. Some money came from some international circle, were not part of our budget, or and that money was extra budget spending, and now that feeding program is going on. I think the government added to the fact that in collaboration with the Minister of Agenda, and some other international partners, they have brought in books and school uniform, jerseys, and things. They have created a warehouse in the Port Authority. The last time I remember I was watching a live video that the stuff that came almost, I don't know how many containers that came. The president mentioned that in the state of Union that the Ministry of Education and the General Ministry, because they identify a lot of youth in the streets selling. And I think the parents have been registered under the Ministry of Agenda. If they see your kids selling in the street, they'll go find the parent and register while they're not in school. And they're helping to pay some of this, disadvantaged youth that is in the street.
Yeah,
And some,
that was part
and
of President Buaka's campaign
yeah,
message.
no, it was in his speech today. He said that the Ministry
Okay.
Agenda, if you go to the speech, the highlight of the speech, they are in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. They identify some of the disadvantaged youth and people that are selling in the street. And this
Okay.
supply that brought in will be distributed around the country to those kids and through school. And I saw the supply that almost there's a warehouse in the Freeport Monrovia filled with all the supply books, jersey, shoes, and things that are all kind of accessories and crayons and things will be distributed. And that's some of the way that the Ministry Agenda not talking about. Oh, you can't sell in the street. What can you do? That to help. Why the reason that the kids are selling in the street and among the cars is because the parents cannot afford no job. So providing this opportunity to them to subsidize their living costs is one of the agenda the arrest agenda talk about. And I think they are doing it now because I got a video evidence of them capturing kids from the street of Freeport. I watched that video, and then the kids were taken to Ministry Agenda. I think they provide some hostages. And one of the kids said they were living on their own, and they have to do that for survival.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, yeah.
Commissioner Smith, can
So
we
that
hear you on
so
the?
to sum up the educational agenda under the arrest
Yeah.
that the government of Liberia are making, and he talked about building modernized schools. I think you mentioned that in his son. They are building like 5 or 6 modernized schools in Banga and some in Bikana, some in Magibi. There are more to come. There's a project on the Ministry of Education. I know one of my young comrades who is working with the Ministry of education, and he's there as special assistant. I said, no, they have a plan, there's a project there. And maybe Mr. Smith want to go to work with that project. I can recommend him to be paying 100, more than that. It's a million, I don't know, not $1 million project. It's a project that a lot of people need, expect to go to need project managers to.
Yeah, we probably come towards to all of them. So, Commissioner Smith, can you hit on education a little bit?
So
the scholarship, the public school digitization.
Because I missed the University of Liberia, and the president. And quickly before you go, let me borrow 15 seconds. The president ensured the money that was put in the budget and the money they spent last year to renovate the university.
Yes, the president did say that they renovated the
I see the Congress of Soup. They are now demanding, they are painting the campus, and there's a debate now.
After the president had renovated the place, they painted. One journalist asked them whether it's not treasonable. The president renovated the place, then he said he painted.
And the painting the place, they had a mismatch pin. The red, not matching with the red. The Congress, I think that Congressman gave it a beginning and I order the pin, so you can speak on that.
So, comrades. The Labro we talked about yesterday, OJ that you agitated for, Harold Brady. It's not the Labro we have. And we cannot afford to be conspicuously silent and exposing this and making sure that they are corrected. We cannot also afford to join these people who are determined to keep the country backward. When you have a program, that program has to be clear in terms of the plan, the activities, the sustainability plan, the expected outcome. You say you come in fee student. What kind of student you come in fee? Elementary student, junior high, student across the country. What is the target? That is undefined. You just cherry picking, you pick free school. That program was a legacy program of President George Weah. Okay, let me tell you where the money came from. During the COVID, when the government of Liberia signed an MOU with World Food Program, they made them food distribution. I coordinated the hustle listening exercise for the COVID stuff. I had 1.6 million budget. I know the details of that contract. And so at the end of the process, WFP reported over 1.7 million, 1.6 million, 1.2 to 1.6 million around there. And so the government said that money will be used a redirected world feeding program for schools. When the new government took over, they kept that information until the former finance minister again was being accused of embezzling that World Food Program turnover fund, that he had a press conference before the current finance minister and the government of Liberia acknowledged indeed that that money was turned over to them for food feeding program. That was being disingenuous. So had the former minister of finance, Samuel Twed, not come out to say, you shouldn't be asking me about this money or accusing me about this money because we turned this money over for school feeding to the current government. So go and ask the Minister of Finance. Then Minister Gafan comes and says, yeah, it's true, we got the money. We use the money for school feeding. That's number one. But really, the learning outcomes remain below regional averages. That's why all the so-called investment we put in education. The learning outcome. We do a comparative analysis across the region. The outcome is below regional averages. The teacher shortages. OJ is going to build more schools. We need every high school, public high school in each electoral district. I support that. But like I told you, if we do not have sustainability plan and expected outcome, We just have structure built all over. And the current structure we have, what are their conditions? Do we have teachers there? They are lying in rooms, dilapidated situations, including the University of Liberia that super printing. Okay? They are lying in rooms. The teachers, yeah, you got teacher shortages and absenteeism. Teachers are not motivated, they're not coming, people volunteering. At what point in time will we end the so-called volunteering thing across our public schools? You got more volunteers than teachers who are on the payroll. Why?
Thank you, Congressman Smith. Thank you, Congressman Smith.
Please, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. We need to move on health.
So the school infrastructure gap remain wide, especially in the rural counties. And so we have to be, I keep saying, we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional, Koji, about lifting our people out of poverty, building the capacity of our people. Because the decision we make now, the answers will be provided 50 years from now, 3 to 5 generations from now. And that is why we have to make the best decision now. We have to think for 3 to 5 generations. And
thank you.
As
Thank you very much.
Country, this is what it is.
Thank you very much. As I said, we are going to delve into these sectors.
For a good job to go and pin that place. Let me comment the
delve into these sectors. We are going to delve into these sectors more, beginning tomorrow. But let me move on to the health sector. And the reported achievement that we highlighted here is that the president said that medicine supplied to health centers went nationwide. They supplied medicine to the health centers nationwide. And then you talk about child vaccination increased to 73%. They talk about drug abuse declared a national health emergency. Rehab initiative begun, land acquired for neuropsychiatric hospital. So they're talking about building of the psychiatric hospital, but they have already acquired the land. So far, the acquisition of the land is that achievement that the president mentioned. Diagnostic center initiated. They have also initiated a diagnostic center, and I don't know what that initiative entails, but we are going to find out later. Then oxygen plants commission. So the president says that they have commissioned some oxygen plants, and then cardiothoracic partnership with UGMC, first surgery funded. So there's a group called UGMC. We're going to dig deeper into what this group is, but the president said that they have established partnership with UGMC, and at least one surgery has taken place, a cardiothoracic partnership. So those are the areas in the health sector that the president covered in terms of achievements.
Yes.
Professor
Gbidi, you see development around the world, and it's not an easy task. But let me commend the Comrade Military, Dr. Louise Maple Poto. She had the Minister of Health, and what I want to speak about, because development is connected, and the health sector in Liberia and terrain have been a bigger challenge. You know what's making the biggest challenge? Is all being power, electricity, because everything that equipment that any health sector need run on electricity. They need power to run it. Yeah. If you get a X-ray machine, you get an MRI machine, even you get a lab, you need light to see where you. So it has been a challenge in the rural area. A lot of the rural areas do not have electricity or power. It has been a major challenge of our health sector. But I think the Boakai government addressing this issue in different ways. They have been very innovative. Now they are supplying all of the clinics that I think were in the Sonian report. 118 clinics around the country have been supplied by solar panel to this clinic. I was just watching a video and from Bomi, my county, Bomi, the immunization clinic that store all the vaccine, because vaccine have to be stored on a certain temperature. If you don't have power, you can't. So that whole region for Bapolu County, Cape Mine thing, they have made a bigger clinic that store and be run using a solar system. So the government invested into solar power. That will help most of the clinic to operate at any time. That you get a pregnant woman in one village, she want to give birth, and there's no power in the clinic, you will not get a nurse working in the night because you don't know what time you can get how the pregnant woman get cramping maybe 2 o'clock in the morning and no power at the clinic. How do we deliver the lady? So people were giving birth in the darkness, and the probability of childbirth death were increasing. But now I think based on the innovation of the government and providing solar panel to rural clinics and things, I think they're going to help to solve most of the power. So most of the clinics that exist will not be run because there's no power. And
I will hold you there, Comrade Jones.
a lot of stuff. So you see how development is connected.
Yeah, I'll hold you there.
They can run this. You can get all the best technicians, don't have power. You can run the clinic.
I'll hold you there. Comrade Smith?
Yeah. The health system in our country, I mean, despite all the lessons we've learned from the past outbreaks, Ebola, COVID, we are still limited when it comes to emergency preparedness. And so the health ministry needs to move from creating panic in the citizenry and providing assurance. When the doctor from New York contracted Ebola in Guinea and was flown back to New York, Mayor de Blasio, then Mayor of New York, he spoke and said the system was ready to receive him, and it can be assured that in a couple of days he'll be back with his family because the law prepared the health sector for those kind of days. That was a statement of a the world financial capital, New York, the biggest apple, had one of its own coming down with Ebola. And you know the Ebola fear that was around the world. But that statement of assurance, we cannot have that from the Ministry of Health now because there have been limited preparedness in terms of emergency. The dependence on donor funding threatens long-term sustainability. We need our agriculture, feeding ourselves, health issues, education, to rely on donors all the time. Because, take for instance, recently you said put out, you saw the shock it created, especially in these 3 sectors. Because most of the activities were heavily dependent on USAID. When USAID put out the plug, I noticed a lot of programs were shut down. So
I think the president stressed on that, and he had a little emphasis on it. and
He
he
said,
thought that, yeah, he thought that we could do it on our own.
"Oh, we could do it on our own." Did he tell us the plan that what since you said pull a while the thing? I'm happy to show
Right.
that you know
I'm sure they are putting together plans.
we putting the plans together until they say they are finished. So health facilities will mean under resource with shortages of medicine and trained personnel. I mean, you follow a fake surgeon, a man heading the Medical Dental Association for the Republic of Liberia. Maybe that man was a carpenter. Maybe he was just a man and robber. How did that man get crashed? Such an elite profession, a medical profession, to become a medical doctor, a head of a referral hospital. You know, one of the real life, the man became the president for all the doctors in the country. Really, it speaks volume. It speaks volume. So this is a challenge. How many medical centers do we have in the country? How many, in terms of their staff and capacity, who are those running those places? All right. What kind of health services they are providing to our people? So you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that we haven't gone anywhere with respect to the health sector. How many MRI machines we got in the country? You got to go to Jamali. You don't even have 3 MRI machines in Liberia. You don't even have more than 2 CT scans in the country. Before you talk about all these other imaging machines, I had an appreciable understanding recently again. I mean, somewhere in 2000, I think 15, 16, I was involved in an accident in Arizona, and I had to do some imaging. But I just had fresh recollection in recent time for my surgery. You know, the various testing, and when you get there, you see the machines, you know, you get your response right in time. But you go to Jamali for MRI result, they do the MRI, they gotta send it to Africa. And you know, they gotta send it about 1 week, 2 weeks before your result come. So
OJ will agree with you on that.
I
said OJ will agree with you on that.
Oh,
So
wow.
let me quickly read through.
Let me hold that Smith man right
Yeah,
there.
let me quickly read through. Let me quickly read through some
No,
of
before
the. No, I mean OJ will come back. We'll come back and discuss freely. I want to get through with what we are, discussing now. Then we'll spend the last 20 minutes. Yeah, we'll spend the last 20 minutes talking about these things that you want to talk about. But I'm passing over the achievement with respect to water, sanitation, and social protection. And I'm also passing over foreign policy and international standing. Yeah, we are going to look at that fully also, but I'm passing over that. So let's look at what the government promised, what Joseph Boakai promised today. Let's look at what Joseph Boakai promised today. He promised the passage of the local government bill. So he promised the passage of the local government bill. I don't know which specifically it is. But also he also promised the tourism bill. Then there is a banking and financial laws, Insurance Regulatory Commission Act, and then State-Owned Enterprise Authority. So you probably want a uniform authority that will, control state-owned enterprises. And youth service program. Then we talk about the TVET commission. He wants a TVET commission. And then from the economic and investment promises, he said US $3 billion in pending private investment. He promised US $3 billion in pending private investment. And then he promised a special economic zone to be created, a cashless economy expansion, small and medium enterprise financing growth. He also promised inflation reduction to 6% in 2025. And then from the energy and infrastructure promises, he promised to electrify 100,000 households per year, and then reach 75% energy access by 2030. So 75% of the population will have energy by 2030. So a significant portion should have energy by 2029. But all these things we need to know the baseline. Complete solar plan by October 2025. And then new bridges and corridor paving. The Thomas Boulevard overpass commencement. And the on the governance and national healing. You talk about National Unity Action Plan, the constitutional review. He wants to do another constitutional review, comprehensive electoral reforms, national conference on post-war infrastructure, proper burial of President Tolbert and Dole that he did, recognition of ECOWAS peace rule. So we look at the bottom lines, talk about technocratic capability restored, the governance tool markedly different from predecessors, and clear planning framework, the arrest agenda, they have the arrest agenda, and then the international trust regained quickly, according to them. But here are some gaps that must be highlighted. There is a heavy emphasis on process over outcome, and many flagship items that the government listed still remain at policy level or pre-construction stage. And then there's limited articulation of how gains translate into daily economic relief. So this is where we are at the moment. We will all use the last 20 minutes to have an open discussion, but we can rest assured that we are going to break all of these sectors down one by one, and the president, looking at the president achievement and the promises sector by sector. So the floor is open now. Any one of you can.
Yeah, Chief Moderator, Professor Willie Harrell. Yeah, so, you know, when people want to measure, yardstick to measure progression, they always go back to the past and measure what, other people did and to improve the situation. Yeah, we're talking about the pro agenda, and we're talking about the arrests. And the arrests are coming out with a lot of beautiful plans that you see over the period of 2 years. And they can come up with a catalog of things that they intend to do and the thing that they are working on. It's a working process. It's an ongoing process. And Congressman Smith made reference that you are counting, I don't know how many MRR machines. And he said maybe 3 or 4 MRR machines in the whole country. But I don't know if you counted how many MRR machines were there in the last 6 years during the pro agenda. I know maybe one of the MRR machines could save Joe Howard, the vice president's son, or maybe for treatment or something. I don't know why he died from, peace be to Archie. I don't know. But a lot of people have died from JFK because of poor or no equipment working or because of electricity. So just to sidetrack that, but when people counting on the productivity in the last regime and comparing to the current regime, you can make this type of reference. So, but I like to make I like to and stick on the progress this government made. And I want to just focus a little bit on water and sanitation because one of our general comrades working with that entity, he's been doing a brilliant job, and he needs to get our credit. And Comrade Mom Ali is the head of the agency of water and sewer, and you can see a lot of productivity happening. You can see people in literally in community that water never reach, and they are reaching there. And you can even go out of the even from Morovia. I learned that they built a water plant even in Kipma. People can go and fresh, safe drinking water. And water is life. And then you think about cleaning of drainages. I saw the public work and the entity with Mohammed Ali control water and the sewer. They were cleaning the drainages because that the whole Center Street people build on the drainages and stuff like that. They even coming with a new Zuna plan and breaking some of the homes that built on the drainages that were causing the whole of the Center Street, the Lane Street, and Benson Street. That the sewage always busts down there and be flowing. But when I went back home, I can see some improvement. This area being taken care of better than on the past regime. And so water is life. And you can see that the government is making some real step in the Peaceville community, in the Ghanaville community. You can see water. People are drinking pipe-borne water. I see a lot that people are in new pipes because some of the pipes were installed since 1940. And I know Mom Ali visited, I think, China or one country. They brought some new pipes, and they're rooting out some of the old pipes. And you see. And maybe that causes some of our illness in our community because some of the water we drink is not safe. Rusted pipe drinking from this water is not safe. So if the government is thinking of providing safe drinking water for the people and taking care of sanitation, we should give them that credit. Then, but talking about other things like that, you talk about that some of the future projects, and you're talking about. The fight against the drugs. Now they are talking about being they are already launched I think it's in Bentor. They are secured land in Bentor, the capital of Morovia is Bentor. Yeah, they're secure. I think they launched that. They did the break the ground. Will be building a rehab center. That will be all the host and 700 disadvantaged youth. And it will be building a psychiatric hospital there. And people, some of all who work in the field there that help to rehabilitate. That chance of people going back and helping young comrades and so better Liberia is possible. We can see better Liberia is possible. That a lot of great things and a lot of visionary and what we call visionary and project and the agendas are targeting for the future. You can see that happening. And when the process is initiated by breaking grounds and people working on the project, because you can see in 2 years' time, they can show you tangible thing, physical thing that you can feel that they are doing. So I will rest
there. Okay, Orlando Jones. Let's hear from you, Camille Smith.
I like the way OJ put it that the rescue government is expressing a lot of intention, good intention to do. I mean, intentions are future things. And so for the last 2 years, drawing from OJ's statement, all the rescue government has done is to make, state good intentions. And we gotta go beyond state intention. You say we should do comparative analysis. When by 2 years, the purple government had a lot of tangible, a lot of deliverables to point to, a lot. And so you talk about the private issue of water and sewer. I like to inform you, OJ, because I was in a strategic position where I participated in most of these conversations with with the IMF and the bank. I was in those meetings. As early as 2018, we started that pipe issue. Everything was done by the proper government. Mo Ali Une inherited, including the 5 sewage truck he made in the Port de Clare. Ask him. And so beyond that, he has done nothing new. He's unable with the money he has in the budget.
With water in Kingsville is nothing new.
Please. Okay, let me have my time.
Complex water was not there. Water is in SKD complex.
OJ, as a result of the work done by Alfonso Gay, all of those are the open all those lines. They did those work.
2 years later.
OJ, I said what we did the 2 years extended up to the last year, Alfonso Gay management, when all the pictures, the evidence are there.
2021, I met you at SKD complex. Water was not there. No point boiling water was there.
OJ, the proper government did not end in 2021. By 2022, they are all the parts. They are all in the, OJ, please let me talk. Please.
No water was there.
No, OJ, water wasn't in Broadville, by the time I left from there, but the pipes were all under the ground because I saw the people running.
I met your complex. No water was there until
he's not saying water was there. Let him continue.
You're not giving the comrade credit. That's the point. You're doing a plain lie like that. The proper government had this thing in place. No, it was not there for 6 years.
OJ, you need to give the man chance.
But you can't lie about what in peace with. What was not in peace with the 6 years.
OJ, water doesn't come. That is not lightning and thunder. You just crack the rock for water to come. All right, there's a technical problem.
The fact that you
Alfonso Gay management extend all over Airfield, Lakbasi, Pinze, Cinco, Broadville, everywhere. They lay the pipes. They order all these things. I told you, including the 5 sewage truck that Mo Ali cleared on the port. Those pipes are kings. They didn't come from. It was not Mo Ali that ordered them. He inherited them. I'm giving you facts, OJ. And so I'm not going to.
I saw Mo Ali. If they lay the pipe, then Mo Ali just on turn the faucet on in the water king.
That price is going to put a lot.
So he took 2 years to turn the faucet on. 2 years.
Exactly right.
And
just Mo Ali should be contributing. The Water and Sewer Corporation should be contributing to the national budget. Say Mo Ali done it. No. As an SOE. Say Mo Ali been there. They have not contributed money to the. They've not been able to honor their responsibility with respect to contributing a quota to the national budget. So, on the other, okay, let me finish.
He's talking down on his generation. That his young country that.
With management systems.
OJ, the man has obligation to the generation more than the country.
OJ, you want me to tell
the generation is more productive and doing a very awesome job, and you come on a public and talk show and you castigating that what
no, he has not castigated. He said in the record state.
You can see the difference. It's clear and invincible.
No,
water is right.
OJ, the man said Ali inherited five water
trucks. Was never in community, and you're saying that the community is not doing well, and the community inherited this thing. That this type of lie is a broad lie. Broad day lie.
OJ, the man recognized in the previous community who laid the pipes.
But it was never implemented. going to meetings and countries and traveling and never implementing it.
Okay, the man reclaim his time. So you're giving his time, let him conclude.
But if you continue to destroy and lie, I will not give you a chance for you to destroy Mo Ali here. Mo Ali is doing a brilliant job, and his impact is visible. It's not the impact is not like you can't see it because water life.
Yeah, okay, let's give it man a chance.
I give it a chance.
I don't celebrate impact where you go create a borehole not more than 700,000 or sometimes they spend 700,000 after 1 week. They put in Babulu and get access to the water. That's not why I'm not here to celebrate mediocrity. Our country deserves more than this. Okay, that's the point. I'm not here to celebrate mediocrity. I'm not here to castigate anybody. Okay, we had the opportunity. Whenever you talk about generation, I like that point you made. When we as members of the same generation have the opportunity given to serve the public space, we must be able, we must engender and endeavor to leave lasting legacy. All right? We can't go be strong and supporting people scratch got to be defending on social media. No. And so waste management systems are overwhelmed, especially in the urban centers. Enforcement of sanitation laws, they are very weak. Flooding and drainage persists due to poor urban planning. The water and sewer is a state-owned enterprise that as per the act creating them, they have a fiduciary responsibility to contribute a quota based on the revenue, because that's a revenue generation entity. People buy, so a percentage of that revenue should go to the consolidated account to support the government main budget. But water and sewer cannot move from the government. You still feeding on the government budget. You say somebody doing what, OJ? Okay, Mo Ali, as managing director, has been the water and sewer for over 2 years now. You are a common of a generation. Show the record. Show water and sewer contribution to the national budget. Why is water and sewer given to the national budget in terms of the quota as an SOE 0? And so we must not celebrate these things. All right? And then there's somebody that said, Rhino Street is a mountain, the giant turn of mountain there. Today, we're interviewing people in the street. Okay? Sewage, drainages, due to poor urban planning. What are we doing? Okay? What are we doing? OJ, when you live Chocolate City, you have running water all over Chocolate City before the war. You know that. OJ, come on and say that. Is that the Chocolate City before the war in terms of water and sewer? Is that what you're experiencing now? That's not the same thing. And you want us to be happy? Would you be moving progressively upward? And there's a downward trend. Why haven't we gotten back to the statuses we had before? Why is FPRC only a gas station now, a storage facility? What happened to the refinery component? Why don't we make intentional capital investment in there that will create more jobs? And so, social protection, mostly underfunded. The things we should be intentional about as a country, we're not moving in that direction. You go get Zogo Kende food, you keep them. I mean, that joke, you're not going anywhere. You know, look at the national poverty level. So these are things we need to be very intentional about. How are we tackling the illegal money activity? So there are too many things you talk about getting on the UN seat. Something again the proper government, even the General Ambassador said a few months ago, I think 2 or 3 months ago, that Liberia getting the non-permanent seat is as a result of the former president initiative. He owns that. The German ambassador in Liberia, you know, Germany is no ordinary country at the United Nations. That's the biggest economy in Europe. So for the German ambassador, he's giving such a testimony that you people don't want to say that the ambassador for another country had to come publicly in Liberia and say, this UN thing a job we are. I mean, OJ, tomorrow you could be president, tomorrow you could be director. Nobody should try to bury your contribution, positive contribution, because of politics. We shouldn't move our country in that regard. And I mean, the UN Security Council seat is just a symbolic and prestigious seat. It does not automatically translate into domestic benefits.
Let me hold you there, Comrade Smith.
I think
let me hold you there, Comrade Smith. I'll allow Comrade Jones to wrap up. You have 2 minutes because we just have 6 minutes to leave now. So, Comrade
Yeah,
Jones, you can wrap up because we are going to come back to these things.
no,
Yeah, we're going to have a discussion around all of these things, including the president presentation today, the national budget, and the likes. So we can just wrap up now. Two
yeah.
minutes.
I let a rapper in this type of in making this type of analogy because I'm a coach. I coach sport, soccer and basketball. So what I usually tell my players every day when we go to practice, you just have to get 1% better every day. If you're working on your free throw and just you miss maybe 5 out of 10, try to improve it 6 out of 10. 1% better every day. That's the thinking. And Liberia, when that what I always like to use the comparative and comparison analysis logic based on past regime and this current regime. And maybe some people get offended when you try to draw the analysis on what the past regime were doing in this sector and what the current regime is working on. And you can see the improvement. You see people moving the needle little by little in certain aspects. That what I used that when I was wrapping up when we're talking about water and sanitation, that we're talking about health and education. We're talking about MRI machine. We never have one. I think we never had DNA machine the last 6 years. I think we get one now. So, but to wrap up, the president
What is
whole
the end of my
man, let me wrap up. I'm wrapping up. I got 45 seconds. Let me wrap. There'll be no response. Yeah, you can go to Fanatical and join it. But now let me wrap up. This is a constitutional responsibility that the president gave annual message to the 55 legislature. He gave it today. It is provided by our constitution, and that address should always give like a year in review. Like you could work in a place and you meet your supervisor at the end of your fiscal year at your job and tell them what all that you did that were positive, all your positive things that you did, and what can you improve on to have the annual report look like. It's a year in review, and like you're going for a performance review. And I'm not when I review our our government, our sitting government head of our president Joseph Boakai, his performance ever will grade you because in your performance review, the HR or your supervisor or your manager will review you, gonna grade you. And I want to grade him. I'm telling he's in the positive. I will give him a B plus that he
Thank you,
working
Comrade
on the goals.
Jones. Thank
He
you.
work, he working on the goals and he get big dream to work on because he had a
Thank you,
policy.
Comrade Jones.
Yeah, let the wrap up because
Yeah.
he came up with a plan, arrest agenda, and he addressing them bit by bit, but a lot of challenges. You can see a lot of challenges. So I will give President Boakai after the summary that he made today to the nation, I will give him a B plus.
Thank you, Comrade Jones. Comrade Smith.
Yeah, we should never get tired of talking our country issue. You know, we should
Better Liberia.
always, yeah, to ensure that a better Liberia is possible. Indeed, a better Liberia is possible foundation on principle, patriotism, void of mediocrity, void of being a cheering squad of the regime of the day, and we need to ensure positive indicators and sustaining performances for the growth and forward of our country. The country is hard. Basic social services are lacking. The country needs to progress. the private sector, the diaspora, private sector, facing high operating costs. Access to credit remains limited for the SMEs. All right? They cannot have access to credit to all the microfinance institutions in the bank. And even the recovery period doesn't give them the time to even work around the principle. And so it's challenging. The investment climate improvement, very slow. We have to be deliberate, and there is a need for a revolution. When you say rescue, there's no time in a rescue mission. Rescue goes with precision. And the early signal does not suggest that a rescue is coming anytime soon. So we need to buckle up. We need to buckle up. Comrade Jones, the role we have as generation people is to challenge each other. Amika Cabral talks about self and mutual criticism. We have to be critical of ourselves. We got to be intentional, true to ourselves. We cannot form a social club or a political hegemony and say we are advocates, we have activism background. So it certifies us to take the public space and abuse the public space. No.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Comrade Smith. And before we part, I like to play a promo of our show to come, the Progressive Diary. Okay, yes, we are back. Thank you, Comrade Orlando Jones, and thank you, Comrade Wilmer Smith. We are going to be back here tomorrow to delve deeper into the president's speech and development as a whole in our country. And we are going to be looking at some of the achievements that the president mentioned in the macroeconomic and fiscal management space. We have two of our cameras here who understand these figures and that the president put out. They will be helping us to navigate that and make the public to understand a little bit more what has been obtaining with government and what the achievement really speak to. So we are going to be having this conversation over the period of this week, and we are going to be sharing with the Liberian people what we make of the president's speech and all of the pronouncements that he made during the annual message. It has been a wonderful time having you listen to us. A quick reminder, we will be coming to you very soon with what we refer to as the Progressive Diary. where you are going to be listening to the likes of Dr. Tukbanan Tipote, Dr. H. Boyman Famule, Ambassador Komine Wise, Ambassador Dew Mason, Dr. Josh Clekier, and the rest of the progressive folks. It would be a wonderful, wonderful series that we're going to have on this platform, and you will be invited to listen. Keep tuned and follow Vote 24 TV so that you do not miss any of our broadcasts. We are both on your Facebook handle and the YouTube, and you can follow up us in any of these social media handle. Thank you for listening and have a good night.
All right, thank you.
Come on, Guidi, that's compare notes right after it.